Hey. So good afternoon, everybody. And on behalf of the Bahá'í community and the Dublin City Interfaith Forum, we're absolutely delighted to welcome you to our World Religion Day celebration. We've been arranging this celebration for a number of years now, and we're delighted that in spite of the present health crisis, it's been possible to continue the tradition, even though it is via Zoom. As many of you may know, World Religion Day was initially established by the Baha'i community in the United States as a means of creating interfaith understanding, and it was first observed there in 1950. It's now observed, of course, around the globe by many faith traditions, with events such as conferences, interfaith activities, prayer services, all that advance mutual understanding, respect, and reciprocity amongst the followers of all religions. Some governments at either local or national level have also organized events in recognition of the social value of World Religion Day. Commemorative stamps have been issued in some countries also. Like, for example, in 2007 in the Congo Republic, they issued a stamp for World Religion Day. It had a picture of a globe and it had the symbols from 11 faiths on it, and written in French, the words, "God is the source of all religions." So over the years, we have chosen a program of readings from the different faith communities on a particular theme. And these themes that highlight harmony of the spiritual principles of the various religions. In years past, we've had themes such as justice, peace, love, unity, and hope. And this year, we have chosen the theme of generosity. We felt that generosity was a relevant theme for this year, given the very difficult year that we've been all through, and indeed are continuing to experience with the current pandemic. We particularly think of all the frontline workers working in so many different areas, and of the sacrifices that they so generously make for us all. When the pandemic hit, people everywhere began offering their services to the community. And as time has gone on, more people have become motivated to do whatever they can to be of service to their fellow citizens. Indeed, it has become clear that service to society and collective worship are essential elements of the life of a community that remains hopeful and perseveres in the face of a crisis. While on the one hand, the pandemic has increased our awareness of how much we are connected as one human family, it has also served to highlight the inequalities in our global society. And while global reforms will be required to address this, the generosity of spirit that we have witnessed amongst people during this pandemic will surely also be the quality required to address this issue. So it is in recognition and to honor these many generous acts of service that the theme for this year was chosen. So today, to celebrate with us, we're delighted to have representatives of the different faiths who will each share with us from their faith on this theme. Indeed, it is their participation in this event that actually makes it so special. So let me tell you, representing the different faiths are from the Hindu faith, we'd like to have Swami Vivekshananda. From the Jewish faith, Mrs. Hilary Abrahamson. From the Buddhist faith, the Reverend Kozan Kokai. From the Christian faith, the Reverend Julian Hamilton. From the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Dare Adetubera. From the Islamic faith, we have Mrs. Amina Hussain. And from the Sikh community, we have Dr. Jasper Puri. And then finally, from the Baha'i faith, we have Ms. Keeve Alexander. She just say to you that as your names appear on the screen, you will know that that is then your turn to read. There will also just be some musical contributions, and these are recorded from Luke Slot, Pastor Stefan Aris, Jamnit Jolly, and at the end we will have the Irish blessing. Finally, to close, we will call on our Chief officer of the Dublin City Interfaith Forum, Mr. Adrian Christie, who will end the programme with some closing remarks. So now we will actually start the formal programme of our celebration. And thank you very much.
Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishna. Sisters and brothers, very happy World Religion Day. We are indebted to Bahá'í Faith for starting World Religion Day from 1950 onwards. And I'm very happy and congratulate every one of you to have come here. We have gathered together to celebrate this day. So this topic that have been given to us this year to reflect upon is generosity. It's a wonderful idea that this generosity itself gives us an idea of charity. Generosity can be applicable to many of the human traits. For instance, I can be generous in doing charity. I can be generous in teaching someone. I can be generous in doing so many other activities. So the generosity is somewhat a central theme of all our good actions that we do around us to the society. So Hindu religion, from the ancient, I'm talking about say 5,000 years before, when the Vedic times, the Rig Veda, the oldest scripture that you see, it says, very beautifully it says that Shatahasta Samahara Sahasrahastam Sankira. It says, you earn your money, you earn your everything, you earn with 100 hands, but give out with 1,000 hands. It is very beautifully, poetically put it. Not that we have 100 hands, we have 1,000 hands, but the way that one must be generous to the people around us, it shows that give through your 1,000 hands, as if you have got 1,000 hands. Why don't you give through 1,000 hands? And the ancient Hindu scriptures like Vedas, and then Upanishads, and later day the Puranas, they all speak about this generosity trait, which should be mandatory. Not only Hinduism, if you find the Eastern world of religions, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, Buddhism, even Shintoism, up to Japan if you go, then you can see Confucianism, everything speak about generosity in a very high way. And almost it is a mandatory thing. Hinduism says the moment a baby is born, it is supposed to grow up with 5 kinds of charity. Charity to the gods, charity to the teachers, charity to the surrounding peoples, charity to the animals and birds. So charity to the nature. So what does it mean? That means it says it gives us that each one must grow by sharing what one has. And when sharing, not grudgingly. Give away generous heart. So this is a very beautiful way. Suppose if you don't do it, if you do not be generous in a very selfish way, then the Hinduism says, no, you should not keep it. Better is that you are giving, when you are giving, why don't you give generously? That is the question again and again repeated. So I'm happy that today we are celebrating this generosity, and with these few words, I think my timer has gone up now. 3 minutes is over. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Alison, and to the Baha'i community for asking us to, or inviting us to participate today. To give to those in need is not to be gracious, but to do one's duty. It is an act of love, but also of justice, which is the root meaning of the Hebrew word tzedakah, for charity. It is to relieve suffering and to correct injustice, and so to ensure that God's gifts are shared by all in a society whose members care for one another as brothers and sisters. Giving is a supreme ethical obligation, second only to the still greater mitzvah of gemilot chasadim, the doing of kind deeds. Giving is greater than all sacrifices, and doing kind deeds is greater than giving. An active and organized compassion for those in need, material generosity, as well as spiritual generosity, is one of the hallmarks of the Jewish tradition. It is part of Jewish tradition that community leaders are responsible for the needs of the poor. Jewish communities the world over have myriad special funds for food, clothing, education, wedding expenses, medical treatment, and every other need. The philanthropy is an organic function of Jewish tradition. Indeed, all faith traditions advocate for their followers to give generously in order to support their community and the broader world. Judaism not only asks this, it requires it. There are three main categories of generosity: giving of one's wealth, giving of one's wisdom. Sharing knowledge and understanding with others is a great example of generosity and is an important part of Jewish tradition. This, of course, includes teaching, but can also include giving personal or professional advice. Giving of oneself physically, such as volunteering, visiting the sick, phoning the lonely during COVID, unsolicited kindness. The story is told of a saintly rabbi who was on his deathbed. His students asked him to leave them with his last words of wisdom. He replied, "Always help a lady get into a horse-drawn carriage." The students were dumbfounded. What's this? What about something deeply spiritual? If you do that, if you behave generously, answered the rabbi, you will reach great spiritual heights. Our sages told us that deeds of loving kindness and acts of generosity of spirit can be more important than charitable giving. Our tradition tells us that in every action, no matter how big or how small, we must be generous of the heart. We must remember that charitable giving is not just pulling out the checkbook or swiping the credit card. Generosity is not about how much you give, but how your act of generosity can build a better world. Psalm 51, verse 14, beseeches God to let a generous spirit sustain me. Generosity of spirit is cast as intrinsic to the sustenance of life. Sorry. May we always give generously according to our means, but never think of ourselves as being generous. May we give because we care for those in need, and so do justice, and so that justice may be done. May we give quietly and joyfully, because it is our duty and our privilege, happy in the knowledge that to give to God's children is to do God's will. Thank you.
sorrow not if in these days and on this earthly plane things contrary to your wishes have been ordained and manifested by God. Days of blissful joy, of heavenly delight, are assuredly in store for you. Worlds holy and spiritually glorious will be unveiled to your eyes. You are destined by Him in this world and hereafter to partake of their benefits, to share in their joys, and obtain a portion of their sustaining grace. To each and every one of them you will no doubt attain. To each and every one of them you will no doubt attain. To each and every one of them you will no doubt attain.
Hello, everyone. Just on behalf of Zen Buddhism Ireland and my teacher, Myozan Kodo, who many of you know, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and honor of representing Buddhism at World Religion Day. As Swami said, generosity is very central to the practice of Buddhism. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a short talk from a well-known Zen teacher and priest by the name of Shunryu Suzuki Roshi. And the talk was about a thing called Dana Prajna Paramita. So I just want to quickly explain what that means, Dana Prajna Paramita. So the Prajna Paramitas are these 6 ideals or concepts. They're known as the 6 perfections that Buddhists practice. And there's things like endurance, and there's things like morality. And one of them is generosity, the practice of generosity. So Dana is the Sanskrit word for generosity, and Prajna Paramita are these perfections. So Dana Prajna Paramita is one of the 6 things that guides our practice, and it's the practice of generosity. So it's quite central to what we do. So this is Suzuki Roshi's talk. The precept today is giving, the joy of giving. Everything is something which has been given. Every existence in nature, every existence in the human world, every cultural work we create is something which was given to us, or which is being given to us, relatively speaking. Moment after moment, we are creating something. This is the joy of our life. But this I, which is always giving out something, is not the small I. It is the big I, the big self. This is our joy, when we become one with the big self. Even though you do not realize the oneness of the big mind, when you give something, you feel good. Because, first of all, at that time, you are one with it. When we give something, we feel very good, better than when we are taking. So giving and taking are not different. Relatively speaking, you take something, but originally it is the act of giving. Dogen Zenji says, to give is non-attachment. Not to attach to anything is to give. Although the things we have are originally ours, there is the truth to give. To give the treasure of a penny or a piece of leaf is Dana Prajna Paramita. To give out the teaching, one line of teaching or one word of teaching is dana, prajna, paramita. The material offering and the teaching dana offering are not different. And Dogen Zengi says, to produce something and to participate in human activity is also dana, prajna, paramita. To provide a ferry boat for people or to make a bridge for people is dana, prajna, paramita. This is our attitude, and this is how we should live in the world. This is dana, prajna, paramita, the practice of generosity. To give something or to create something for ourselves. So to do something true and true is our true activity of creation. This is why we sit. If we do not forget this, everything will be carried on beautifully. Thank you.
A reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will. A reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You have heard it said in those ancient of times, You shall not murder, and whosoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that if you're angry with a brother or sister, you will be liable to judgment. And if you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council. And if you say, You fool, you will be liable to the hell of fire. So when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First, be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come offer your gift. An ancient prayer from Clement of Rome, and then an ancient Celtic prayer blessing. Lord, give harmony and peace to us and to all who dwell on the earth, just as you did to our fathers when they reverently called upon you in faith and trust, that we may be saved, while we render obedience to your almighty and most excellent name. Give harmony and peace to our rulers and governors on the earth. And so deep peace of the running wave to you, deep peace of the flowing air to you, deep peace of the quiet earth to you, deep peace of the shining stars to you, deep peace of the Son of Peace to you forever. Amen.
I think we seem to have trouble getting Pastor Derry online, so we'll move on to the next reading.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, we can hear you, yeah.
Great. So I'm just standing in place of my husband, Imam Ruslan, so apologies that he's not here. So I was asked to speak about generosity, and I'm just going to read from the Holy Book, the Quran, and then I'll give the translation of that. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين تبوأوا الدار والإيمان من قبلهم يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتي ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون. So this is an ayah that I'll translate it and maybe just give a very brief kind of context to it. The translation goes that those before them who had homes in the city Medina embraced the faith, and before them loved those who have emigrated to them. They entertain no desire in their hearts for the spoils they may be given, but rather prefer them above themselves through poverty as their lot. And whoever is saved from their own avarice will surely succeed. This is referring to a very poignant stage in the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when the Meccans were forced to leave their home city once they took on their faith. And under the acute persecution, they were forced to migrate, and they migrated to a city called Medina. So they left their homes, left everything, their businesses. Some of them had to leave their families. Like it was they came quite in a desperate way to Medina. Now, the people from Medina, this here it refers to the dwellers of Medina. They're known as the Ansar, and the Ansar, this is who we're referring to, took them on. And what was amazing is that they also had very recently converted to Islam, but their mercy was, and their generosity was so deeply rooted inside of them that they gave without preference for themselves. And in Islam, we have two forms of generosity. One is that we have to give when you have, and I think in terms of like reference to the Buddhism, you give and you feel good that you give when you have something, and that is a natural good feeling. But what's greater and higher than that is to give when you don't have. So when you're offering somebody some sort of support, when you don't actually have yourself, that's a higher a grade and higher standard of giving. And the Ansar, the dwellers of Medina, demonstrated this, because generosity is an act really that stems from the heart. And so it says here that they preferred them above themselves. So this is a very important quality for those that want to attain generosity. And the title of being, we also have the word kareem in Arabic. Kareem is to constantly give, and it's another beautiful word in Arabic as well. Kareem means it's a permanent state. So you can't just give here and there. It's a state that you're in. It's a state that you acquire. Again, it's not just a theory or a belief. It's a state that you're constantly in. And whoever is saved from his own avarice will surely succeed. That they had no attachment to whatever that they had, and from their own desires, that they were saved through this act of giving without any preference for themselves. So this is the contribution from the Islamic point of view. Thank you.
Thank you.
मेहरबान साहिब मेहरबान मेहरबान साहिब मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान जी सगल को दे दान जी सगल को दे दान जी सगल को दे दान मेहरबान साहिब मेहरबान मेहरबान साहिब मेहरबान तू काहे डोलिया प्राणे तुझ राखेगा सिरजनहार तू काहे डोल प्राणे तुझ राखेगा सिरजनहार जिन पैदाइश को किए सोए दये आधार जिन उपाय में धने सोई करदासा कट कट मालक दिला का सच्चा परवरदिगार सच्चा परवरदिगार साहिब मेरा मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान कुदरत की मेरा जानिए वड्डा वे परवान कर बंदे तू बंदगी जिचरगट में सा तू सुमरत अखत अगोचर जियो पिंड तेरे रास रहम तेरी सुख पाइए सदा नानक के अरदास रहम तेरी सुख पाइए सदा नानक के अरदास तेरी सुख पाइए सदा नानक के अरदास जी सगल को दे दान जी सगल को दे दान जी सगल को दे दान मेहरबान साहिब मेहरबान मेहरबान साहिब मेहरबान साहिब मेरा मेहरबान
seems to be a little glitch there, but I'll screen share again.
May
Apologies about that.
Good afternoon, Sat Shri Akal, which means God is truth. The Damneet was right now speaking about God, Meherwan Sahib Meherwan. God, you are very gracious and grateful. You are always giver and you are the generator. This generosity, the word itself, it is imbibed in the name of the God, G-O-D. Generator, the operator, the destroyer itself. And you get the habit of generosity only with the grace of the God. There's only one provider in the world, that's the God himself, who has created the nature, and in the nature, both animals and the human beings, and he gave the topmost priority to the human being to look after each other. And this you can attain only when you are truth, you imbibe the qualities of the truth, the contentment, and the mercy. We say, as Guru Nanak found the religion, he gave us three qualities to do, three principles. Kirt karo, which means honest earning by honest means. Nam japo, sing in the praises of the Lord. That's what Damneet also said in one line, that never dwindle from your truthful path. He will always save you from there. But you must keep open your mind and strength to go on that way, and he will always help you out. Third value, Guru Nanak gave us sharing, which means one chako means sharing. Share your everything with whatever you have extra with your community, with the people, with the nature itself. If you have got extra, you must give it. Before, most of the gurdwaras, if you find, they are a center for meeting, center for giving spirituality, center for feeding the people, center to tell people how to be humble, not to speak slander, and speak gracefully. Humility, thy my name, aim, because this is all comes, and this we say service of the mankind and humanity is a must. Always care for the justice to others and be fair. You must give out. Some people give money just for the sake of name. They say, no, it should be selfless. If you are giving seva kar, hoy na kami. You must have a selfless service without expecting anything, and you get more peace. That's where the generosity comes. Not by the namesake that I made a foundation and we are giving this much. If you see some figures from America, American people have donated around $248 billion to the world as a whole, and where 70% comes from the common man. Well, only 8% comes from the corporate and foundation, 20% like that. But main money is coming from the simple householder, who are the common people who are giving it, because they are God-fearing people. We say, Kal kae kich atho de nanak ra pachani se. You must earn yourself and give with your own hand. Keep the hand like this, not like this. Help the others with others. Only then you attain the love and you attain your salvation by singing praises to the Lord and caring for the humanity. That's where the generosity lies. However small generation you give it, according to your strength, according to your capabilities, you must do it, because it is the order of the God that you must accept. And when we accept the will of the God, we will always move towards the truth. And truth is the love. God is the love, because the nature itself is a love. We got the COVID because we became the masters of the earth and we have destroyed the earth. But if we will be generous enough to save the earth, to save the human beings, only then we can survive in this world. First thing is to accept the will of the God, and all service to humanity by selfless and humility die my aim. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just see that Pastor Dari has managed to get connected. Can you hear us, Pastor?
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
So if I could ask Pastor Dari to do his reading, and then we'll move on in the program from that. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're taking a few reading of scriptures from the book of Proverbs in chapter 19. The Bible enjoins us here that giving to the poor. Sorry, my voice is a bit, I hope it's a bit better now. Excuse me. The book of Proverbs, chapter 19, in verse 17, actually calls generosity, an act of giving to the poor, is lending unto the Lord. It tells us that when we are giving to those we are in the position to help, if you help the poor, you are lending to the Lord, and He will repay you. And also in the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verse 5, verse 42, reminds us that one of the bases for our generosity is to remember that our Creator is generous to us all. So when we have the opportunity to extend generosity to those who might need it, it is out of the generosity that we have received ourselves, and to be assured that our generosity is going to be rewarded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just as a candle's purpose is to provide light, the human soul was created to give generously. We fulfill our highest purpose in a life of service, in which we offer our time, our energy, knowledge, and financial resources. The impulse to give springs forth from the love of God. As this love fills our hearts, generosity comes to characterize the pattern of our conduct. When we serve others for the love of God, we are neither motivated by the hope of recognition and reward, nor by fear of punishment. A life of service to humanity implies humility and detachment, not self-interest or ostentation. We must be like the fountain or spring that is continually emptying itself of all that it has and is continually being refilled from an invisible source. To be continually giving out for the good of our fellows, undeterred by fear of poverty and reliant on the unfailing bounty of the source of all wealth and all good. This is the secret of right living. Be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age you live in, and center your deliberations on the exigencies and requirements. O children of dust, tell the rich of the midnight sighing of the poor, lest heedlessness lead them into the path of destruction and deprive them from the tree of wealth. To give and to be generous are attributes of mine. Well is it with him that adorneth himself with my virtues. Be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbour, and look upon him with a bright and friendly face. Be a treasure to the poor, an admonisher to the rich, an answer to the cry of the needy, a preserver of the sanctity of thy pledge. Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no man, and show no meekness to all men. Show meekness to all men. Be as a lamp unto them that walk in darkness, a joy to the sorrowful, a sea for the thirsty, a haven for the distressed, an upholder and defender of the victim of oppression. Let integrity and uprightness distinguish all thine acts. Be a home for the stranger, a balm to the suffering, a tower of strength for the fugitive. Be eyes to the blind and a guiding light unto the feet of the erring. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth, a crown to the brow of fidelity, a pillar of the temple of righteousness, a breath of life to the body of mankind, an ensign of the hosts of justice, a luminary above the horizon of virtue, a dew to the soil of the human heart, an ark on the ocean of knowledge, a sun in the heaven of bounty, a gem on the diadem of wisdom, a shining light in the firmament of thy generation, a fruit upon the tree of humility. Soon will your swiftly passing days be over, and the fame and riches of the comforts, the joys provided by this rubbish heap, the world, will be gone without a trace. Summon ye then the people to God, and invite humanity to follow the example of the company on high. Be loving fathers to the orphan, and a refuge to the helpless, and a treasury for the poor, and a cure for the ailing. Be the helpers of every victim of oppression, the patrons of the disadvantaged. Think ye at all times of rendering some service to every member of the human race. Pay ye no heed to aversion and rejection, to disdain, hostility, injustice. Act ye in the opposite way. Be ye sincerely kind, not in appearance only. Let each one of God's loved ones center his attention on this: to be the Lord's mercy to man, to be the Lord's grace. Let him do some good to every person whose path he crosseth, and be of some benefit to him. Let him improve the character of each and all, and reorient the minds of men. In this way, the light of divine guidance will shine forth, and the blessings of God will cradle all mankind. For love is light, no matter in what abode it dwelleth, and hate is darkness, no matter where it may take its nest.
Thank you.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art.
So we've come to the end of our program, and we heard from our speakers that generosity must be unselfish. In some of our traditions, is not only a duty, but it's also a responsibility. It's not only asked of, but also required. And among others, it requires sharing knowledge and understanding. We also heard that generosity is very central to our traditions and practices. It is an act of giving with no strings attached. And it is an attribute of mind, a joy for the sorrowful, and a guiding light. And as we know, the world that we used to know, it's now gone. It ended. It won't come back. Old habits, practices, ways of functioning, you know how the world works. That world has now ended, and we're now in a new place. We have new practices and new habits to acquire. Some of us experience deep loss this year and in tragic ways. Some of us have been denied the connections which keep us human. And so many of us have sacrificed, and so many have gone beyond their duty just to keep us afloat. And now that we see some light at the end of the tunnel, brought to us by science and innovation, but we know that when we leave the tunnel, everything will be different. And that is because of what we've traveled through. That world, as we used to know, has ended. But endings and beginnings go. Ends, something new begins, emerges, forms, grows. Maybe, just maybe this year, this new beginning will inspire us towards new beginnings of all kinds. We have a new world emerging. And how do we want it to be? So let love be our new beginning. I will stretch again your generosity, maybe a few seconds longer, and take this opportunity to thank our hosts, Alison, for hosting as usual, so gracefully ourselves. This would be the time when we would head towards wonderful hospitality with tea and cakes. So there you go, there you have it. And I hope you'll get that at home. So thank you, Michael, for all your work with the technical side of things. Thank you, our musicians. Thank you, our speakers, for their inspiring speeches. And most of all, thank you, our audience, who have been so generous with your time this Sunday, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Again, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you all. Thank you all indeed.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Lovely
Take
to
care.
see you all. Thank you.